No man do they call me. My mother and my father and all my comrades as well. Welcome old friends and new listeners to my channel, where I share my Warhammer 40k stories. Now, let us continue the saga of Gutzmangul's Boyz.
Chapter 4, The Day It Rained Dakka.
Ordnance continued to rain down on Gutzmangul's Boyz. Rock, scrap, and bits of orc and human filled the air. The sound of other combat was dying down as both forces became far more concerned with surviving the bombardment than fighting each other. Gutzmangul could see more ships arriving and shifting into position to join in.
"These humans is gonna zog their own boys just to zog us,"
yelled Gimzod.
"They's barking mad, they is,"
added Jax.
"I dunno. Seems downright orky to me. La ha 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 ha."
Gutzmangul laughed as he shoved the burning shell of the Russ off the Rocker-Wrecker with a loud crash.
"Right, Gimzod. We's gotta be clever with this lot. Turn this wagon round and head for the big zogging hole in the ground. Ain't no sense dying when you ain't even in a proper scrap yet."
Gutzmangul breathed in deep and bellowed as loud as he could, his voice easily carrying over the cacophony of battle.
"To ground, boys, to ground! Follow me!"
With that, the engines of the Rocker-Wrecker roared to life as the battle wagon lurched backwards. Not bothering to turn the thing around, Gimzod put the whole wagon in reverse and put pedal to metal. The battered wagon hit every rut and crater, sending lesser orcs tumbling as it zoomed towards the hole. Snickwit gripped Gutzmangul tightly on the back, and Gutzmangul used his claw to clamp down and grip the wagon itself. Gimzod hummed to himself as he craned his neck around to see where he was going. He found he could see nothing but the stage of demoniacs and their speakers completely blocking his view. Undeterred by a few dozen or so orc-shaped lumps in the road, the accompanying angry shouts and curses, the Rocker-Wrecker screamed towards the former landing site of Gutzmangul. Orcs poured over the edge of the pit by the hundreds, some with squirming grots in hand to throw in first to cushion their fall. More than a few others were flapping their arms frantically as they jumped in hopes of a slightly happier landing. Still others who couldn't reach the rallying point headed for the sewers and began fighting their way down, floor by floor, through the hab complexes. Some orcs made it, others were vaporized by the relentless barrage from above. Gutzmangul tried not to think about the losses. He hated having to count higher than one. Jax turned his eyes upwards at the turrets being assaulted by Crump and the boys. One turret was destroyed by the bombardment. Two others seemed to be attempting to return fire, though the Imperial vessels were likely safely out of range.
"Hey, boss, what about the storm, boys? What about the captain?" "He's on his own. Dat gets got the luck of Mork, he does. He'll be fine."
The Rocker-Wrecker was a mere 50 yards from the pit when the earth erupted beneath them. A massive explosion ripped the surface of the planet and flung the heavy orc wagon and all her crew into the air. Orcs scattered like pebbles, flung in the air by a small child. Gutzmangul himself watched the horizon do flips as he cartwheeled in the air for a good 10 seconds before being swallowed by the darkness of the pit. After falling for what seemed like an eternity, Gutzmangul finally landed with a loud crunch. The disoriented war boss wiggled his fingers and toes, tested his hydraulics and his mega armor, and gave himself a once-over. Everything seemed to be more or less attached and in working order. Gutzmangul pushed himself to his feet, his hands immediately becoming slick with the gore of 3 or 4 orcs that he landed on. Or was it 8 grots? A mix of both? The fine paste they had become was quite difficult to identify. Orcs were continuing to rain down from above, but the numbers were fewer and fewer as the dull explosions ahead continued.
"Hey, boss!"
The mad Doc Bar waved at him and picked his way through the rubble. Numerous orc and grot limbs sat in a large satchel the Doc had strapped to his back. As he ran, they flopped this way and that with each step.
"Everything still attached? Anything need fixing?"
The Doc looked far too disappointed when Gutzmangul appeared all in one piece. The war boss took stock of his boys. Swighead was gone. Captain Crump too. Gimzod was being dragged to his feet by Bar, eager to harvest his parts, but the mech's loud protestations told Gutzmangul he'd be fine.
Get off me, or I'm telling you I ain't dead. How do you know? I'm the doc. I'll be dead to that. All needs to do a full physical.
Gutzmangul looked over his shoulder and saw that Snickwit wasn't there either. Lost in the fall, or the explosion most likely. Well, who did he have? There was Needle, a commando nob, who was a lean fellow by Orc standard with cyborg eyes that allowed him to see Gits even better in the dark. Grum, a looting nob, who would just about loot anything. He was famous in the mob for looting all sort of rare artifacts. He was famous also for bringing back shiny buttons and rocks that he thought looked like the war boss's head. Suffice to say that Grum was a simple orc, and with an occasional streak of luck. Axeboy Jax was still alive, though his axe was smashed, and Blog appeared to have been smashed beneath the remains of the Rocka. Jax kicked a stone in frustration.
Zog, I ain't breaking up over creative differences. You lot just had to go and die on me. That weren't what we practiced. Zog, I gotta get me some more maniacs.
After doing some figuring, Gutzmangul started finally giving orders.
Let's get a move on, boys. This scrap is just getting started, and we gotta find ourselves a proper orkhold and start rebuilding a war. We's gotta get more boys and more gubbins, and we needs to find out where the Zog we are. Maybe if we do all that, we could frag these Yumis good. Loot what you can and let's get a move on.
Gutzmangul looked around, and in every direction there were narrow, cramped corridors and flickering lights. You can see doors and ports, but not a single soul. Yet the war boss could feel eyes on him in every corner. The hive seemed to press in on the orc survivors as they went deeper into the abyss of the underhive. Gutzmangul had a feeling that this was only the beginning of the adventure.